Hi guys, Dan here, DD Hack Shop, because I'm sick. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little behind on vidges. And there's actually a video I wanted to do about this thing, and I thought, you know what, now's the perfect time because I don't have another video to put out. But don't worry, I'm sure I'll heal and put something out. I know you guys were super worried about it. So we work on the 57 Chevy, and I lovingly call it the worst 57 Chevy on the planet, which it probably is. And the last video we put this wing on, and
people don't think you actually bolted it.
Oh, she bolted. Yeah, I drilled holes and everything. But people, I guess you didn't get the joke or whatever. And it's just a wing. It's just a little bit of fun. But then it's funny. So when I brought this car home, it was a pile, eh? And then people are like, don't waste your time on this and that. Started putting it all together. People are like, oh, okay, it's coming along. Then I clear coated it, and they're like, you're an idiot. Why are you doing that? The second I drill holes in the trunk lid and put a $60 Amazon wing on the thing, I've ruined the classic. And they're like, you're killing hot rodding and all this stuff. And you know what? I'm thinking about it a lot lately. And I call everything a hot rod no matter what it is. And that's just my kind of definition, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people, I think, get confused about what a hot rod is. Well, Danny's getting the angles. And I thought it would take a minute. So, like when a hot rod was a real thing, first started, the old boys came back from the war and they were doing, you know, they wanted to have a good time. So they were buying cheap cars, doing what they could, and they were hot rodding it, right? So that's the essence of a hot rod to me. And making something out of what was available and what you could afford. So back then, let's say they get a Model A or something like that. And what would they do? They'd get the biggest, cheapest motor they could. So a Cadillac mill or something like that, an old nail head, whatever it was, they jam it in there. For seats and stuff, they'd have surplus, you know, from the war, you know, bomber seats, gauges, whatever they could do to lighten the thing, give as much power, and have as much fun as they could. Cheaply, right? What was available to you. Things have changed over the years, and now if you build that style of hot rod, it's like a traditional thing, right? Like Matt, Iron Trap Garage. Love what that guy does. It ain't cheap and it ain't easy. It's hard to find that stuff. And now if you want all those cheap kind of hot rod things they did back in the day, it actually costs more. That's how it's kind of evolved, right? That's the way I've looked at this thing. This I built, in my mind, kind of how the original hot rods would have been done. We got a left for dead body. I think at the end I'll go over maybe the pricing of what I have in this thing. But I think the body was $1,200. I don't quite remember, but I don't think it was much. $1,200 or $1,500. It was a body on a rotted out chassis with some miscellaneous seats, bucket of parts, and what you see is what you get. And we did it to save a dog. So anyways, I didn't need another Tri-5 Chevy, but we bought it anyways. And then from there, we took absolutely everything on this car, for the most part. I've used a few creative liberties, artistic liberties. But for the most part, it is as cheap as you can do it with leftover stuff. So all the body panels came with it, or you know, roughly so. I put a floor pan in it, rockers on both sides, and I bought this section on the other side. Otherwise, as you see, what you get. The motor was a leftover motor I had of another car, so I put that in there. Now I put some hot rod stuff on it, you know, headers and intake and all that. But it could have been bone stock. The transmission cracks me up on this thing. I've had a longer relationship with this transmission than almost anything in my life. I built that transmission, I'm pretty sure I was living at Murs still, and I put a shift kit in it. I don't remember what it is, but I probably had that transmission 20 years. And I don't know how many cars it's been in, but it's been in, 3 or 4. It was in your car for a while there. Whatever. It's been sitting on the garage floor. I've dragged it around. Here we are. Back in this thing, right? It's just like, there we go.
I didn't know that about that transmission.
Yeah, oh God, I've had that forever. It was the first shift kit I put in a transmission, was that one, with whatever money I could afford for the high stall torque converter, which is probably like $2,300. But it took all my pennies I had to put that together, and there you have it. The rear end, again, left over. It was in your Chevy too. before we put that 9-inch in. Kept it around, and there you go. So the driveline, car guy math, it's like girl math. I have $0 in any of it. Even though I paid for all of it, it was all free. So that, to me, is hot rodding. Now you fast forward, and I mean, you can build a hot rod out of a magazine. You can buy every piece for this and build your hot rod. But we didn't. I mean, the seats, we have a Tri-5 seat. I have Tri-5 back seats, but this is what it came with. We're keeping it low buck. We didn't spend a whole lot of dollars. And so I always take it back. Hot rodding is supposed to be kind of fun. It's supposed to be easy. You hang out with your buddies, and you're kind of sharing parts, doing what you can, making whatever will work that's around you to carry on and get this thing on the road.
Is hot rodding supposed to be easy?
I think so. I'm not good at it, obviously, but it's supposed to be easy. But that's the essence of it. So, and I think, you know what, 95% of you guys get it, the joke. You get that we're just having fun. You get that we have enough Tri-5 Chevys that we don't need a whole lot. Well, we don't have any nice ones. The Nomad's pretty nice, but we bought it nice.
Mine's nice.
Sure, yeah, yours is super nice. But fun, I think, is the number one thing of a hot rod and what you can afford. Now, if you want to have something that's perfect and polished and painted and all that done to the nines, good on you. And more power to you. It ain't for me. This is what I like, and I'd rather have quantity over quality. So I just think that's kind of my version of what a hot rod is. I was listening to this podcast there the other day on the Hot Rod Pod, as it turns out, and they had the Ring Brothers on it. They were talking about guys are going up to them saying, I'd like to build a hot rod. They go, okay, what are you thinking? This and that, blah blah blah. And the number one thing is always price. How many dollars is it going to be? So the client will tell them, I got $300,000. What are we going to build? And they go, sounds like you got a nice parts list. That doesn't include the car, the labor, the screwing around, the paint, the interior, the years. They're talking these fancy cars you see in the shows like $1 million. I'm pretty sure I want to walk around this thing, but I don't think we got $5,000 in this thing. And I guarantee you, this will get damn near as much attention in a parking lot as any $1 million hot rod. Maybe not the right kind of attention, but it'll get some looks.
Whoa, that's a $60 spoiler.
Danny made a good point there. This thing is mint, eh? So some people had been getting in the comments section and saying stuff along the lines of, someone would die for this car, or they'd love to have this car and this and that. And you know what? I hear you. And at where it is right now, this is the perfect point to buy a car, this car, because all the hard stuff has been done. This car was left for dead, like I said, just a body sitting in a slough, all rotted out on the one side, and nobody wanted it for years and years. I get it. I put a floor pan in it. I do the brakes. I make it run and drive. We'll be there in another video or two. And then it's a car that all of a sudden now people are like, it's a two-door hardtop. You're ruining it, this and that. The car was already ruined. And in my mind, this isn't the car that you would bring back to factory original. I mean, you could, by all means. But you would have more money, even doing it yourself, working on deals and taking your sweet time to put this car together, then you could just go buy one for, in all reality. And I've learned one thing, you can't get more time, and a lot of you guys know that. So if you want the car, buy the car. Don't buy these projects that are junk and spend your free time giving long hair sensitive Canadians a hard time on the internet. But the other thing with this car, so we got it cheap, and it's been a blast to build, which has just been fun. This is one of the most fun cars I've put together in a long time. And honestly, a big part of it is because of the interaction we're having with all the people, you people, and good and bad. But the people are helping, they get it, the trim stuff, all that. Everyone just wants to be involved in it and kind of save this one and keep it on the road, which I did say happened a lot. I will say happened on the Nomad a fair bit as well. A lot of people were super generous with that and pointing me in different directions, and willing to go out and buy parts and ship them to me and all sorts of stuff like that.
That's hot rodding.
That is hot rodding. You know what? That's a good point. Hot rodding is just helping someone else out, and I'm a huge believer in that. I don't even know if I should say this out loud because people are going to start emailing me, but I've always been a big believer in, if I'm not using it, you can have it. You know what I mean? But on the flip side, if I need something down the road, parts or tools or whatever, you kind of put that karma out there and you get it back. And maybe it's just my turn. I feel like I have given lots out. I've given away, I don't know how many parts. We have our annual swap meet, and not last year, the year before, we filled the truck up and just put a free sign. Take everything, because I didn't want it. And it was usable stuff. And maybe that's what's coming around now. We got some trim and stuff like that. So I guess put out in the universe what you want back. So if you want to give me a hard time about my car, be careful. You're going to come home to a flat tire or an oil leak. Not like me, though. I'm just Johnny Nice Guy all the time. There you are. Let's gear up and let's price this thing out right quick.
Action.
Thank you. So the last time we did a pricing video on that Camaro, I should put a little disclaimer. I'm an idiot and I don't remember what I pay for things, and you guys are like mathematicians in the comment section. But to the best of my abilities, what I think it cost, and if it's wrong, you know what? Whatever number I say, just double it, and it has to be less than that.
Are you talking American and Canadian dollars?
Sure. I'm pretty sure we paid $1,200 for this thing. I don't remember it.
I think it was 15.
Maybe it was $1,500. Maybe it was $1,200, but I felt bad. I gave the guy $1,500 for the dog stuff. So let's say high side, $1,500.
We're gonna round up for all the numbers.
Sure, whatever. $1,500. And that was the car on a rotten chassis, but it came with a different chassis. No rear end, some steering stuff. And floors were cut out of it, all sorts of whatever. These seats were sitting in it. I sweet talked them into it. And they're ripped and junk and all that, but they are bucket seats that will do something. They're pretty good. And it came with a bunch of parts, a bunch of spares, stuff I'm not going to use, but you can never have too much Tri-5 stuff. Came with the glass, not installed, but everything there. The only thing, sheet metal wise, you can clearly tell what I bought because it's not rotten. But I bought 2 rockers, this quarter section, and the floor pan. So $1,500. The floor was $1,000, so $2,500. Let's say that's $500 in sheet metal, so $3,000. I then spent $1,000 on the front end, which is tubular control arms and brakes. So that's $4,000. Whew, we're getting up there in a hurry, actually. Yeah, I really thought I was confident in the $5,000 number. I had to buy a windshield for it, which I think was $300. So that's $4,300. Now this is where we're going to start cheating, because that's what we do here at DD Speed Shop. We lie to you people. I'm not going to include the wheels and tires because you know what? We could have I got steel wheels with junk tires on them. You could have her rolling. This is what I wanted on it. I mean, the back tires were $700 for the pair. That's ridiculous. Like, ridiculous. But I love them, and wheels and tires are my favorite thing.
That's more just your aesthetic thing.
My deal.
Needed to have it
Exactly. The headers, so the motor now, and the same thing. So this was a quote-unquote free motor, but then I bought that intake manifold, so whatever you want to include that. Those were used headers, which I bought off Facebook for a couple $100.
Well, now it's for a different project, right?
No, that was for this.
Oh.
Carburetors are actually the original carburetors are off my 55 Chevy. That radiator was the original radiator that was in the 55 Nomad before I put that fancy, the big rad with the Delta fan on it. So do your math as you see fit, but I mean, that's stuff. You know what I mean? That just kind of comes with it. I put a carpet kit in it for $200 off Rock Auto. We put a universal column in it, which I think was a couple $100. Then we're new for a wiring harness. So again, pick your wiring harness. You can do that as cheap or expensive as you want. Otherwise, I had to buy a set of headlight buckets, which aren't here yet, but those are $120. But all the bumpers, all the trim, the sweet hood. Spoiler, $60. That's non-negotiable. So there, I don't remember what else I have. The exhaust on it is actually, my buddy Josh gave me the exhaust pipes that were off his 55 Chevy. So I put those on this, modified with a little bit of pipe and a little bit of weld. Now you can factor in, the clear coat, the cans of paint, the grease, the whatever, oil change, all that. I had a drive shaft made for it. So, I mean, $6,000. Let's just go there. And then we'll double it. So we got 12, $65,000 in this 57 Chevy two-door
I
hardtop.
think it'd be reasonable to say you have about $6,500 in altogether.
I actually think legitimately $6,500 and a pile of labor, you could for sure have this thing running down the road. And in my mind, $6,500 for a 57 Chevy two-door hardtop, I don't care who you are, that's rust-free or whatever you want to call it, is an absolute steal as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you don't like the paint job, which I don't know if I said it before, but everyone says paint it, tractor paint, satin black, all those things. You know what? When you fork over that $6,700, you can do whatever you want to it. But for me, I don't know, I mean, when this car was painted or whatever, but I'm gonna say it hasn't been touched since at least the 80s. It took 40 years to look like this, and we could change it in a weekend to any color we want. For me, I like the story. I think it's hilarious, and it's just a lot of fun. I get the wheels and tires aren't for everybody, but you know what? It kind of is what it is. So there you have it. We'll call it $6,500, $7,000 even, a pile of labor. I think I can get my money out of it tomorrow at that price. I mean, I would, if I saw this, someone's like, hey, $6,500, and I look, there's a new floor pan in it, I'm like, sold, because the labor of putting a floor pan in is terrible. But long and short, I just wanted to address that real quick. Everyone wants to know what stuff costs. That's a roundabout number. And then the whole hot rod thing. I think it's, hot rod is a state of mind, man. You know, it's just having a good time. If you can't hang out with your buddies and bullshit around, then you're not a hot rodder. If you want to go there and talk shit about someone else's hot rod, you should be rousted out. I'll nominate you to leave, because you know what? It's supposed to be a good time. And if you're ever confused as to how to be a hot rodder, go to Hot Rod Power Tour. Because I'm telling you, if that doesn't change you or you don't enjoy that, you don't deserve to have a hot rod. Everyone tells me I don't deserve to have them. Well, I tell you what, I got $1,500 says I can own this thing. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna go back to bed. This is literally just, I put my costume on today. I didn't even do any work. I don't plan on doing any more. Another night or two of napping and I'll be back out. But we do have a pile of parts just coming up. Actually in this box, you know what, I got it. Speaking of hot rodders, actually, you know what, we'll do this right quick. Because I love this guy. He's been just absolute solid to me since day one. And this guy's Hot Rodder 101. So Ken, FST carbs. So I just got these in the mail, just ordered them up maybe a couple weeks ago. So versus dealing with those Hollies, I got a pair of these things going on this thing. The reason is, and this is where we're kind of, again, I'm gonna blow the budget, right? You spend a few bucks. But Ken is just, he's a stand-up guy, because when we were going to Power Tour last year, basically a year ago exactly almost, I had all sorts of issues with the EFI on that Nomad, and it would run and then it wouldn't, and I had problems. And you know what, I can admit that I could easily have been the problem. I never even ended up figuring out what was wrong with it in the end. It's just, we've blocked that out of our brains. I'm a carburetor guy till I die. But that guy who didn't know me from Adam reached out and just said, hey man, you know what, I had a little bit of experience with this. He was early on figuring out EFI stuff, and he stood behind and he was on the phone with me for hours trying to help me diagnose this EFI stuff, a product I didn't buy from him, and he knew a lot about. And ultimately, we put a carburetor on it and drove, but that's hot rodding right there, just helping out a fellow guy because, you know, you want to. So now he helped me out every time I need a carburetor. He's got my business just because I think he's a good guy. So that's that. We have brake stuff. I got all the e-brake stuff I wanted. That'll be going on here. Speaking of hot rods, I have a drive shaft cut. Ryan, my buddy there, I'll talk about in the next video too, but he gets it. He's quick. He's snappy. Makes stuff happen. So there you are. Thank you very much for watching as always. Hopefully you're a hot rodder through and through, and we'll see you in the next video.